Last year, I shot a video all about the best golf launch monitors on the market, and to date, it has got over 150,000 views. It was my most watched video. But here's the thing, a year later, basically all of my recommendations have changed. The golf launch monitor world has exploded with incredible options, and so at least half of the options I'm going to share today are different than my recommendation last year. So if you have been in the market for a golf launch monitor, if you've been in the market for a golf simulator at home, and you're trying to figure out, what do I need? How much do I need to spend? What's the most accurate? What's the best? Then keep watching. We are going in depth on all of the best options for you in today's video. So before I go into all the specific recommendations, I just want to touch on a couple quick questions that you might be asking yourself as you are delving into the world of golf launch monitors. Specifically, what the heck is a golf launch monitor? Essentially, all this is a device that uses either Doppler radar or high-speed cameras to track what your ball is doing and then giving you statistics based on that. So if you're looking for information like how far do you carry the ball, what's your ball speed, what's your launch trajectory, what's your spin rate, a launch monitor is the device that is going to give you all that information. But here's the deal, not all launch monitors are created equally. You have the Rapsodo MLM that costs $300, and then you have the TrackMan, which can cost $30,000 or more, and it's essentially built on the same technology. So what makes one device cost $300 versus another one that costs $30,000? There's all sorts of things that go into answering that question, and we're going to answer it throughout the course of this video, but there are a few things to keep in mind as you are trying to figure out what the right option is for you. So here are a few things to consider while you're watching this video and while you're trying to figure out what the best launch monitor is for your needs. So the first thing you need to consider is how are you planning to use this device and where are you planning to use it? Are you looking for a launch monitor you can just take out to the range and get some general distances before your rounds? Okay, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to get that. Are you looking for absolute pinpoint accuracy? Are you planning to also practice at home in your garage and practice out on the range? Do you want to be able to set it up to use it as a golf simulator? These are all questions that are going to dictate what the right launch monitor is for you, because some have these features and some don't. Some are going to have robust simulator features and others are pretty much just going to be launch monitors to give you data. So as you're thinking about how you want to use it, that's going to make it a lot easier to figure out what the right product is for you. One thing I also want to note, if you are totally overwhelmed by figuring out all of this, I actually put together a very quick quiz to help you figure out what the right launch monitor is for you. So there's a link below. You go click it. It'll take you 30 seconds. You tell me what you're looking for, and I'm going to give you my best recommendation based on my experience for what the right device is for you. And even if you already have an idea of what you want, I'd maybe go check the quiz because it might help validate that or introduce you to something that you hadn't even considered. One thing I want to note is there's one product that you may notice is missing from here, and that's simply because I haven't gotten one to use, so I can't comment on it, and that is the new SkyTrack Plus. It's a $3,000 device. They're known for their kind of more simulator setup as opposed to their launch monitor and range setup, but from what I understand, this new product is going to be great, and I will review it when I do get my hands on one, but I can't necessarily comment on it for this video because everything I do here is based on products I have actually used, products I have actually tested and can give my full recommendation behind, and I simply just haven't done that with that. I will link to my review below whenever I have that so that you can kind of have the full picture as you're trying to figure out what is best for you. With that though, I know the whole reason you're here is to figure out what my picks are for the best golf launch monitors, and we're going to cover everything. We're going to talk about the best under $300, the best value, the best under $1,000, the most accurate, the best overall. We're going to get into it all, and so if that sounds good, let's not waste any more time. Let's do this. Okay, first up, what is the best golf launch monitor under $300? My pick is this, the Rapsodo MLM. So the Rapsodo MLM has actually been on the market for a few years, and this was the very first golf launch monitor I ever tested. I first saw it at the PGA show in January 2020, so it's like 3.5 years old now at the time of recording this, but when it came out, it was $500, and they dropped the price recently to $299. And for $299, you get a ton of value. One of the biggest things it can do that most launch monitors in this price point can't do is give you lateral data. So when you're using the app, you can get an overview of all your shots. You can see if you are slicing the ball to the right. You can see exactly what your dispersion looks like. Other products in that sub $500 range usually don't give you that lateral data. They can just tell you how far you're hitting it, and that's what really sets this apart. Accuracy-wise, I've had a few issues with it. It's not going to be the most accurate, but for $300, you can't necessarily expect it to, and it gets close enough to genuinely be useful on the range. One big downside is this doesn't work with Android phones. You have to have an iOS device, so that might be a deal breaker for some of you. But overall, I truly think this is the best device under $300, and it's really not even close. All right, next up, we were talking about the best value golf launch monitor in the kind of entry-level category, and this one's pretty much a no-brainer. It is this, the SwingCaddy SC4. What makes it such a good value? Well, it's because it has a bunch of stuff that is tough to get at this price point. One of the first reasons this thing is such a good value is because it has a built-in screen. So this is great. If you're just like wanting to go get some numbers really quickly, or you don't want to have to fiddle around with the app or deal with any of the simulator stuff, you can do that with this. It also has an included remote, so you don't have to go through the app or go up to the device to change what club you're using. You just pull out the remote, you hit what club you're using, and away you go. I love that. It also has simulator access, so you can use E6 Connect, and in the future you're going to be able to use a few other ones, and that comes free with this device, similar to the Garmin R10, the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, the FlightScope Mevo. A lot of those have E6, but this is one of the cheapest ones to do it. So the fact you have the built-in screen, you've got simulator access, you've got the remote, and the fact that for the money, it's pretty darn accurate, that's a pretty killer combination. The downside, the one big issue I've had with this, is that it doesn't seem to have very accurate spin numbers. And honestly, for devices at this price point, I don't put a whole lot of stock into spin numbers. Most of the devices aren't super accurate. There is one caveat to that. There is one device under $1,000 we're gonna talk about later on that does have accurate spin, and I'm gonna tell you what that is. But for $550, you really can't complain. The app is excellent. You've got simulator access. You've got the built-in screen. It gives you pretty accurate numbers. You can use it at the range. You can use it at home. It's very well-rounded, and I think for the money, you're gonna have a tough time finding anything that's better. That being said, our next one is getting an editor's choice pick because I'm not sure where else to put it at this point. So in 2021, this device came out, the Garmin Approach R10, and it was the hottest device in golf. It was sold out for months. It was impossible to get because for $600, it had more features than any other launch monitor out there, and it was surprisingly accurate. Well, guess what? That's all still true. It's very accurate. You compare it to E6 and Awesome Golf, and you can use it as a simulator. It also has Garmin's virtual round feature called Home Tee Hero, so you can play 41,000 courses on your phone, on the range, or in your garage. There is a whole lot to like about this. I still need to do a little bit more testing comparing it to the SC4 to really figure out which one is more accurate, but generally speaking, they both seem to be kind of in line with each other. So the SC4 gets the nod for best value simply because it's got the remote, it's got the screen, it's got a few extra features that the Garmin doesn't have. Although this one does have the virtual rounds feature, you just have to pay $10 a month for the Garmin membership to get that. If you are in the Garmin ecosystem already, if you use like a Approach S70 golf watch or a Z82 rangefinder, then staying in the Garmin ecosystem makes a lot of sense. If I was already using other Garmin devices, then I would go with this over the SC4 just to have all of my stuff in the Garmin Golf app, which is excellent. So even though on the surface, the SC4 might edge out this, in part just because it's a couple years newer, this is a great device, and if you think this one is the right fit for you, I would definitely go for it. I've had a wonderful experience with it. Okay, the next one is a little bit of a weird one, and we're gonna call it the most multifunctional launch monitor, and that is another Garmin device. It is the Approach G80. So this is another one that's been on the market for a couple of years, but I've only recently started using it myself, and I kind of love it. At first, all I thought it was a handheld GPS device, which it is. You can use it as a handheld GPS device on the course. It's got over 40,000 courses. It's very touch sensitive, so you can get accurate data to any point on the course, to hazards. You can keep score with it. You can do all the things that you would normally do with a GPS app, except you're getting a little bit more accuracy because it is a Garmin GPS device. And let's face it, they pretty much make the most accurate GPS devices out there. But that's not why it's in this video. It's because not only is it a GPS device, it's also a launch monitor. And I was kind of shocked to find this out. So if you look at the back of the device, there's a little kind of dimple here. And literally all you have to do is when you're on the range like this, you take the device, you set it on a golf ball right in front of you, like a foot in front of you, and you swing, and it gives you data. The data is not going to be as accurate as all these other devices we have talked about. It is making more estimations based on the stuff that it is tracking, like swing speed and other metrics like that. But it actually gets you pretty close if you're looking for things like tempo and carry distance. I've been surprised by how accurate it is, and then it throws in a bunch of other features like virtual rounds. So we mentioned the Home Tee Hero feature with the Garmin R10. screen. Well, this essentially does the same thing built in with no subscription fee, which is awesome. There's also games you can play on the range where you pick a distance and you pick a club and you try and hit 5 balls and get closest to the target. The closer you are, the more points you get. So at $500, it's kind of expensive because you can use a similar GPS app on your phone for a lot less money. A lot of the other launch monitors here are similar or less money and are going to be a little bit more accurate and a little bit more full-featured. But when you throw in the fact it's a GPS and a launch monitor and you can play virtual rounds, all of a sudden, this thing is pretty cool, and this is also the easiest of all of these devices if you're just like trying to get some general distances on the range before you play. You can keep it in your bag. The battery life is really solid. I've had 2 range sessions and 2 rounds, and the battery is still going. So it's definitely a niche product, but if you're the type of person you just want bare bones, you don't want to fiddle with anything, and you want a launch monitor that you can just get some distances, play some games, make the range a little bit more fun, you might consider this. Hey, real quick, is this video useful? Maybe just do the thumbs up real quick. That's super helpful for me, and if you're getting some value out of it, I would love to keep doing more videos like this, and even a little thumbs up, that goes a long way. Thank you. Let's get back to it. All right, so we're moving up the food chain. We are now at best golf launch monitor under $1,000, and this one was pretty easy for me. It is this, the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro. This thing has so many features for the price, it's pretty nuts. So you've got Doppler radar and you've got a dual camera system. So not only does it have a camera to record your swing and video, which works wonderfully within the app, it also has a second high-speed camera to track your ball flight. And when you're using the special Rapsodo RPT golf balls, which have a bunch of little dots all over the ball, it actually gives you very accurate spin rates. And so that's what that high-speed camera does. It can follow the ball as it's going very slowly, and then it uses those dots to figure out how fast it's actually spinning. And there's no other device at this price range that can do it as well as this can. Similar to other devices we've already talked about, you can connect it to E6 and use it as a simulator, and they're gonna be rolling out more platforms for that as well, but the app is really solid. There's a built-in combine feature where you basically pick 3 clubs, you hit 2 shots with each, and you go through that a number of times, and then you get a score based on how well you perform. Based on all of the different kind of practice modes I've used across all of these launch monitors, that is one of my all-time favorites. The one thing with this is the app does feel more consumer level than pro. You're not able to customize your data as much as I wanted. I was thinking it was going to be more in line with like a FlightScope or a Bushnell and kind of be pro, but it definitely gets dumbed down a little bit for kind of the average, more consumer level user, which, to be clear, that can be great if you aren't looking to delve super deep into all the data. So there's also a virtual rounds feature that is built into this as well, similar to other devices we've talked about. My only real knock on it is the data is not very customizable. I feel like there needs to be some app updates to make it a lot easier to see all of the data that you're able to get. Currently, you can only see a handful of metrics at a time while you're using it. Later on, you can go back and digest all that information, but if you want a whole screen of every metric this is capturing while you're using it, you can't really get that. So for people that are really serious about making changes, or club fitters or teaching professionals, this might just be a little bit too consumer level for you. That being said, it is still the best, most accurate device I have used under $1,000, and the accuracy definitely feels like it's a step above the SC4, the Garmin R10, and so on. There were some hiccups with the launch, so some people had issues with their units. I talked about the one issue I had in my full Rapsodo review, but that has since been fixed, and so I've had no issues since then. So if you've been on the fence with this one, I don't think that's a concern any longer. One other thing I do want to mention about this is a little bit of a downside, is there is a $200 a year subscription fee, and that pretty much includes all of the biggest features. So you get their tips and insights in the app, the combine feature, the virtual rounds, the impact camera that actually tracks spin accurately. In order to take advantage of all of that, you have to pay the $200 fee. The reality is that's going to be a turnoff for some people, but what they pack in here for the price is excellent, and I think it's worth the extra fee. All right, next up is the most accurate. So the reality is most of the people watching this, you don't need your launch monitor to be as accurate as you think it is. You need to set your expectations properly. If you go in and you're expecting your launch monitor to be accurate down to the 10th of a yard, yard, you're going to be pretty disappointed. And while most of these are going to give you pretty accurate carry numbers, some will be, off more than others. And for most of us, if you're just doing simulator rounds, if you're just trying to get a general idea of how far you hit the clubs and what your shots are doing, then it doesn't necessarily need to be absolutely accurate down to the 10th of a yard. But if you're looking for the most accurate consumer level device that's not getting into like the TrackMan and the GC Quad and the 5-figure launch monitors, then you're going to want to pick up this. This is the Bushnell Launch Pro, and this is by quite a long shot the most accurate launch monitor I have personally tested. Right now, this is the device that I personally use when I'm testing all of my other devices. This is kind of my control because I have found it to be the most accurate. There's a lot of pros and cons with this device. It's pretty expensive. It's $3,500, although I've been seeing it on sale lately for closer to $3,000. There is a subscription fee. In order to use the simulator features, you need to have a gaming PC. But if you're okay with all of those things, you are going to be treated to something special because not only is it super accurate, it has a built-in screen. So again, if you just want to take it out to a range for a casual session and not pair it to an app and deal with all of that, you can do it. And this is a different device compared to most of the ones on here because it's not using Doppler radar, it is using high-speed cameras to get the information. And here's the great thing about that. Instead of having to put it 6 to 8 feet behind you, you just put it 2 feet in front of you when you are on the range. This means you're looking directly down at the screen. So you're not having to turn behind you or open up an app when you're using it to get that information. It's all right there. More importantly, if you're using this at home, you need far less space in order to do it. Whereas with a lot of these Doppler devices, you need 6 to 8 feet behind you and you need 8 feet plus in front of you in order to have enough data to work with. This, you just need a small space, 2 feet in front of you. Not only is it taking up the least amount of space, it's got the built-in convenient screen, it's also the most accurate in the process. So definitely some pros and cons with this device, but if you're okay with the subscription fee and you've got a gaming PC to be able to use the simulator features, you could very much make an argument that this is the best overall package out of all of these because it's just that good. It is fantastic, but this gets our pick for most accurate launch monitor. Okay, we have 2 more, and this next one is a fun one because there's a good chance you've never seen it before. And so this one gets our pick for best overall simulator experience, and it goes to this. The Golf Zone Wave. So if you've ever been to an indoor simulator studio, there's a good chance you've heard of Golf Zone because they're one of the most reputable simulator companies in the world. To get their vision and 2 vision packages, it's $60, $70, upwards of $80,000 for these setups, and they are amazing. I mean, they've got floors that move and cameras in the ceiling and everything to provide what is arguably the very best simulator experience in golf. And so that's what makes the Golf Zone Wave so special. It's been a few years in the making, but this is the first launch monitor and more consumer level product that Golf Zone has released. And one of the things that sets it apart, and this is different from all of the other devices here, is that it comes with this. This is the Golf Zone Wave putting board. So there are infrared sensors on both sides of this to actually allow you to get accurate putting data. And so we all know that is the big knock with simulators, especially with consumer level simulators, is that it either doesn't track putting at all, or if it does, it doesn't do it very well. Well, this, it tracks 8 different putting parameters, and you can go into the Golf Zone Wave software and you can adjust what the putting speeds are, and you can really dial it in for what your setup is. So you can do some tests, you can figure out what your putting mat is rolling, set it to that in the software, and then all of a sudden, you've got a very accurate putting experience in a consumer level launch monitor product. That is pretty wild. And so the fact that you get this simulator experience and it's super portable and you can take it to the range, that is very special. So I haven't been able to delve in and really do a full review of this product yet, but what I have done, I've been very impressed with. Using it as a launch monitor with the iPad app is great. The simulator software is very similar to what you get on the Golf Zone $60,000 package. And the fact that this is only $4,000 is kind of mind-blowing. You can get some extra courses for a subscription fee, but if you just want to use the launch monitor and the handful of built-in courses it has, you can do that with no subscription, which is pretty great. And so I'm really excited to see how this evolves because this is kind of completely different than anything else out there. The downside is that it does take up quite a bit of space. Between the space you need behind you and the space in front of you, they recommend 20 feet. And so that's going to be difficult for a lot of people if you're doing a garage or an at-home setup, but you can also use this outdoors. So if you want to say set something up in your backyard, this can be a great option. Plus you get the convenience of taking it to the range as well. So if the best simulator experience is what you're after, I think there's a good chance this is the one you should go for. And finally, this brings us to my pick for the best overall golf launch monitor in 2023, and that is this, the FlightScope Mevo Plus. So this got a refresh earlier in the year, and I have just found with access to all of these devices, this is still the one I come back to and I use for my personal use. The reason I like it so much and the reason I keep coming back to it and continue to recommend it is because it kind of gives you the best of all worlds. It is very accurate. It's not quite at the Bushnell Launch Pro level, but it's pretty close. It has the most compatibility with other simulator features. It leverages their fusion technology, so it's got a built-in camera that leverages the camera and the Doppler radar to give you more accurate numbers. The app is a wonderful experience. You can customize it in just about any way you want. You can get all sorts of different views. And so if you're a teaching professional or you're someone that really likes to dig into the data, this will allow you to do it. Or if you just want casual numbers and you don't want to see all the extra stuff, you just want to know what your spin rate is and how far you're hitting it, this can do that as well. And what's cool is you're getting all of this, and with some discount codes and the sales that they frequently run, you can get it for under $2,000. So the Wave is $4,000. The Bushnell is at least $3,000 plus a subscription. This you can find for like $1,900, and there are some add-ons to get additional data. They've got the Pro package, which will give you the full D-plane suite. You can get the Face Impact package for another $500, which will show you with remarkable accuracy exactly where on the face you were hitting the ball. But if you don't need all of that extra data and you just want something that you can use on the range to get your general numbers or use at home or use as a simulator, this kind of does it all. And so I have been so pleased with this device, and it's the one that I keep coming back to and the one that most of my personal data is in. Don't get me wrong. If all you're thinking is simulator, I might go for the Wave. Or if you want something that's really accurate and you've got a little bit more of a tight space, you don't have a ton of room, definitely go with the Bushnell. If you're on a budget and it has to be under $1,000, the Rapsodo, the SC4, the R10, they're all fantastic, depending on what you need them to do and whether or not you want a subscription fee. But if you're looking for the best overall, the best bang for the buck, the most features, most accurate, best experience, this is the one I keep coming back to. And so I've got a full review of this and most of these other ones that I will link below. But if you want something that's bordering on professional level, that's not totally gonna break the bank, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still expensive, but not totally gonna break the bank, this is definitely one I would consider. And with that, there you go. Those are my picks for the best golf launch monitors currently on the market in kind of the consumer, prosumer level range. The great news is we're spoiled for choice. Whether you got $300 or $3,000 to spend, all of these are great options for what they are. And so depending on what you need and how you're going to use it and what you're looking for and what your budget is, I have full confidence that one of these products we have talked about today is going to be a great fit for you. So if you have any questions or want comparisons on any of these, please feel free to drop a comment. I'm going to continue to try and put out more launch monitor video because I'm really just trying to help you figure out what is right for you. I know that a lot of these can be an investment and they're expensive and none of them are perfect. They all have pros and cons. And so I really just want to help you figure out what the right one is for you and your needs. And that's kind of what we're doing here at Breaking 80. So if that sounds interesting to you, then go hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up. And if you're still not sure what the right product is for you, consider going and taking that quiz. It'll take you 30 seconds and I'm going to give you my best recommendation based on all of my testing and everything that I have done with all these launch monitors. And so I think that that might help point you in the right direction if you're still not sure which way to go. My name's Sean Ogle. I'm the founder of this thing. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.